Well, hey, folks, welcome on into the Pegasus Actual Podcast. You know, this is Thursday night. You know what that means. So let's bring in our wonderful panelists for the evening. Of course, we got my boy Brightest Day, a.k.a. Zach, failed basic flight. What is up, sir?
Good evening, and good evening to the chat. How's everybody doing?
And we have our other favorite person on the panel, the call sign Southern Belle, flying in her Viper, and that be Arwen Avalon.
Hey y'all, how's everyone doing tonight? Great to be here.
Yeah, so we're gonna start off this evening with a nice screenshot that Zach got a hold of while because we had been talking about watching the episode and whatnot beforehand. And check this out, you guys. This is gorgeous. I love this screenshot.
Yeah, so this is a couple of seconds in between like the opening scenes of the episode, and it's background worthy. Like I had to clip this.
Dude, I no lie, I kind of want this as my desktop. No lie, dude.
It's gorgeous.
This is really gorgeous. I love this shot, dude. That was absolutely a badass screenshot. And we'll keep it here for a second so everybody can check that out. And that's just a gorgeous shot. I see that our favorite mod and friend, Lady Mist, is in the house. She was first in the chat. Great to see you, Lady Mist. Great to see Rube Korean, a.k.a. Tony. What's up, buddy? We'd love to see you. Tehillim, great to see you, my friend. Also, LDG, my boy LDG, formerly LDG Pixels, LDG of Geeks and Joy. Great to see you. And I'm sure that we will have more folks coming in shortly. We are still efforting to see if Culture Casino wants to jump in. So whenever he can get here, we'll just work Culture on into the mix. But this episode. Oh man, there is a lot going on.
Absolutely, this was packed, absolutely packed full of stuff.
This is part one of the season finale. You know, we had actually teased the idea of going and doing the whole kit and caboodle in one shot, and we realized that if we did that, we would probably be here till like 1 a.m. Eastern if we tried to do that. So we're gonna do part one this evening, and of course next week we will continue with the second half, and of course some big moments, and it's gonna be quite worthwhile. Although, God, it's going to be hard for me to wait till next week because, see, I watch the episodes beforehand. We all do. We watch the episodes beforehand on the Thursday, just to keep them fresh in our mind. And the thing when I was watching this episode was the fact that, I couldn't stop watching. So I ended up watching part two as well. Because, it's impossible for me to just watch part one and not watch part two. That's how I'm wired. So I had to do it. And this particular episode, especially this season finale, season 3's finale was pretty good, to be honest. And it pulls you in. That's why it's so easy to just, transition, boom, right over to part two, because you're just like, I gotta see what happens now. Dang it,
Well, so as I watched this, towards the end, it dawned on me that the entire episode and all of its little subplots revolve around the theme of betrayal. Like everyone is betraying everyone in big and little ways, and we're revisiting older betrayals from other episodes.
Yes.
Very true. Very true.
Yeah, it's like a theme with these, dude, and it's just very interesting that you point that out because that is a very running theme within this particular season finale, especially. So yeah. All right. Well, I think real quick we'll let you folks know. Obviously, the channel is not monetized. If you do want to help the channel, if you feel like contributing, you can super chat via this link. It functions just like a super chat. You can leave a comment, and I can log into Stream Elements. I can read the comment if you like, or you can just support the channel in how you like. So yeah, if you use Stream Elements, by the way, folks, the more creators that have Stream Elements, it actually does help the creator more because it goes around that crappy system that YouTube has where, when you super chat, the creator in the end only sees about 70% of that super chat. Whereas, with Stream Elements, the creator sees about 90%, which is good. So, if you really want to help creators that have a particular option like this is the way to go. So yeah, just wanted to let you guys know that. And without further ado, we will start into tonight's episode, Crossroads Part 1. So, Zach, take it away, sir.
Will do, Drew. Good evening, everyone. For anyone that may not be familiar with the format of this channel, and that should be very few of you, I will read a synopsis of the episode scene by scene, and we will pause every so often to discuss amongst ourselves and to take questions and comments from the chat. As Drew said, this is Season 3, Episode 19, Crossroads, Part 1. And beginning. The episode opens in the subconscious mind of Laura Roslin, walking through the Cabolian Opera House. She pursues the child Hera, only to wind up locking gazes with Boomer. The two women race to catch the young girl, but both fail to reach her before a number 6, dressed in white, picks her up and turns to walk into the light behind her. Laura wakes from her dream with a cold sweat and a forced breath.
Zach, before you continue, what's funny about this is now for folks that have been watching the whole way through since we started, now you'll notice that this is a recurring thing. And you're starting to see it more and more. The people now understanding that they really are sharing this vision. So definitely very interesting. But we've seen the vision alluded to many, many times, and from different perspectives, and you're seeing that play out again here.
Mm-hmm.
Right. The constant return to the same locations in people's subconscious and in visions kind of leans to this theme that there is a shared
The opera house.
Right, a shared external reality, like this divine thing that they all pull from is shared between humans and Cylons alike.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. So, I was pretty sure everybody caught, and I think the landmark for everybody's mind when you see this all the time is you get immediately catch it. You're like, oh, the opera house means something, so.
And it's a beautiful opera house too.
Yeah,
it's
actually
a very, very nice location.
Yeah, it is. All right, so you can continue. I didn't mean to derail you, brother. I just
feel free to do so whenever you want. It's your show. On Galactica, Gaeta and the Admiral discuss the jump status of the fleet, the projected distance to the Ionian Nebula, and the tactical status regarding the Cylons. In Joe's bar, Colonel Ty attempts in vain to tune a radio to any form of entertainment, as Anders and other junior officers play a game of pyramid. Anders momentarily notices whatever sound Ty has been searching for on the radio. On board Colonial 1, Tori Foster discusses Baltar's case with the prosecuting attorney, Cassidy. Foster is attempting to pressure her into allowing Rosalind to take the stand in the trial. But Cassidy is hesitant to claim that the president's, quote, drug-induced visions meet the need for hard evidence. In Baltar's cell, he is visited by a member of the media, played by Keegan Connor Tracy. She shows him a picture of her son and asks that he bless him to cure some as yet unspecified illness. He vehemently refuses to do so, but even so, as the guards take the woman away, he keeps the child's picture. He and his 6 discuss the others who have come asking for the same thing, and the dozens of written letters. She tries to convince him that even if they kill him, his name will live on. And that's the end of the intro scene.
Yeah, very interesting with Baltar becoming kind of a pseudo religious figure.
Mhm.
And that's definitely a thing, folks. Just wait, because it'll get that'll get even more bizarre as we move along later down the road, because there is a payoff to that as well. But yeah, it's very interesting to see how that's turning out after he's been putting out like these sort of almost theological, but just these different like manifestos that he keeps putting out, and he's building a cult following, if you will. So
right, and that touches on a good point that 6 mentions at the end of the scene, and then has been brought up surrounding the entire trial, is they want to avoid making a martyr out of him at all costs, and it's getting harder and harder for them to avoid doing that.
Mm-hmm. And he's such, Gaius Baltar, he's one of these characters that's such a crux to the story, and he's almost in a way like a victim of circumstance. It's like he has this brilliance and this, these ability to hit scientists, and he's this and he's that, but he also has this ego that keeps him kind of trapped within himself. He never really sees the big picture. He doesn't have the introspection to think beyond the moment. Like, he wrote this book. Why did he write it?
Mm-hmm.
Was it to just self-reflect, and was it to see, okay, did my participation in all these actions bring me here? No, he had to get it out because that's the ego of him. And now it's starting to take a life of his own. And he didn't even plan, excuse me, he didn't even plan this. And now, like you said, there's people coming, and this woman's like, bless my child. And he's like, what? Bless your child? But he's not, he doesn't see where his actions, where they can snowball and lead to something else.
Tony, I don't want to get into that parallel, but all I can say is, yeah, there's some parallel there, although I would disagree on different points of it. There is kind of, in certain aspects. So yeah, I could see that, but I'm not going to elaborate, because again, on this show, we do not get political. On my other streams, have at it. But
it is one of those things that speaks to the timelessness of the stories that get told in the series, though.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, that's true. Definitely.
Yeah, exactly. Man, it's going to be interesting, just not only when we do season 4, but when we get into the old series, because just again, the interesting tie-in to religion and a lot more mythology, I think, in the older show.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. See, and I don't think that Gaius has the savviness like, I mean, I I know we're not getting political, but and you can see some correlations, like you said, it is timeless, and you can see him having some relations with politicians. But
Mhm.
Gaius doesn't have the savviness to look at these situations and say, okay, this is happening and this is happening. How can I use this best for my advantage? I mean, he is an opportunist, but he's not a savvy opportunist. He kind of sees it with, okay, how can I get out of this, or how can I use this for my advantage now, as opposed to looking for my advantage down the road. And
Yeah,
I think a
exactly.
lot of politicians, they have that savviness. Okay, this is where I am now. How can my future actions lead me to where I want to be? And I don't see Gaius as having that.
No, I agree. I think he's a very much in the moment person. He
Yes.
looks ahead maybe, a day, a week, maybe a month at the outside, but
Yeah.
he's very much okay. I'm in this situation now. Can I use this to my advantage right now? Or I'm in this crisis right now. How can I get out of this crisis right now? And nothing after the fact. I completely agree.
Right. Right.
And Resvergame says the six had more self awareness than Baltar, and then and I would have to agree. You know,
Oh, me too.
I think especially Caprica six. Yeah, I think she did.
Well, that's part of the reason why she was able to use and manipulate him so easily,
Hmm. Yeah.
because of that. Because she saw big picture and he just saw, wow, this this
Hmm.
beautiful
He,
woman
he
in
just saw
me.
Trisha Helfer.
Yeah,
Hmm.
exactly.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
that was okay. That's all he needed. She stroked that ego and he was like, all
Hmm.
right. And she's like, yeah, okay. You think all right now, but wait a little bit.
Hmm.
All right, I'm gonna continue.
Yeah, go ahead, right into it. Before you do, just want to say hello to some folks. Obviously, hail to Resvergam, hail to Angelus Draven, the resident vampire of the community. Hail to Godzillionaire. Great to see you, my friend. And Godzillionaire, I appreciate you, brother. You are becoming such a good friend, and just a steady viewer and supporter. And man, I can't thank you enough, buddy. Just to have you around. You're an entertaining guy, and it's awesome. So thank you. And all right, let's get back into it. Go ahead.
Okay. As the fleet prepares to jump, Racetrack's Raptor deploys on rear flank reconnaissance, which consists of them hiding behind an asteroid and playing cards for 12 hours while they wait for any Cylon activity. Back on Galactica, the trial begins, with Cassidy's opening statements on the measure of loss, defining it by the numbers and faces of those dead and living along the way. She frames the 5,197 souls that didn't make it off New Caprica as laying solely on the shoulders of Gaius Baltar, and for that, he must pay the ultimate price. Romo Lampkin steals the thunder from the scene, asking to change their plea to guilty, a bit of reverse psychology to try to counter the air of assumed guilt and mob justice. He seizes the moment to specifically point the finger at Laura Roslin as she enters the courtroom. His counter-narrative frames her as being on a quest for vengeance ever since the election. He claims that Baltar is in fact responsible for saving lives on New Caprica by surrendering, where Roslin would have seen them all dead in a hopeless battle. Take a minor break there. We have our first scene of the actual trial.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting lead in, and this is and I can draw a correlation. You know, if you want to get to kind of like one of the points that Tony was making earlier, and it just sounds like the typical. See, I
Yeah,
so don't want to.
if you fast forward a decade, that could easily be 2016 in the aftermath. I know what you're getting at, and we don't have to go into it any more than that if you don't want to. But
It sounds like the typical talking point of the so many hundreds of thousands dead are on a certain president before the current one that died of the pandemic. It's almost eerily similar to that same talking point and argument. And it's just, I find that kind of, it's just ironic.
We are treading lightly tonight, aren't we?
And Arwen, you can see it. You can see it because what I do in my other stuff. So I'm just like, and the audience is probably sitting here giggling at me too because they know I normally go ham because I literally on my other shows I go BALLS deep in politics. So this is very mild.
I'm sure Tony is typing out a dissertation in the chat right now.
Dega says, I always giggle at you, Drew. Hail and Dega Outlaw.
Hail and Dega Outlaw.
Hello.
Yeah.
Well, Lampkin does an amazing job reminding everyone that this is turning into a trial of revenge, not of justice. And he's trying to pull them back and say, hey, this is a trial here. My client, no matter how much you hate him, he deserves a fair trial, or as fair as they can possibly do it.
Mm-hmm.
And he does not cut any corners with that.
And I would say that given the conversation we just had about Gaius Baltar's lack of forethought, that Lampkin is his the yin to his yang in this, and that he is all forethought. He is entirely future thinking. Yes.
And Gaius at this point is in the fight or flight. He's just, he doesn't know what's going on. He does, but he doesn't know. Again, he's like, but it's everybody else's fault. It's not me. And Lampkin is like, look, we need to look at this realistically, dude. Okay. And I'm trying to serve you as a lawyer the best I can.
It's scary to think what could have been accomplished if Lampkin had been a military man. Strategically, I think he would have been very, very tough to beat.
Yeah, that's a great point.
Yeah. And interestingly enough, there are some things in store for Romo's character later on. Romo Lampkin comes across an interesting path after a while, but that's further down the road. Hail, Frank and the Shawham Wiener Dog Clan. What's up, guys? Great to see you. Love them guys, man. Thank you so much. Appreciate you. He's got a whole family of wiener dogs. No lie, they take care of them and take them in. So very, very awesome. Root Korean says Windows forced updates. I can't dissertation from a cell phone.
It would be even worse if he tried to do voice to text and he's just sitting here spouting off to his cell phone, and it's like
yes. Yep, they got 17 wiener dogs. Yep.
Aww.
Yeah. I've seen Frank on streams before. He and I have talked, and he legit. They do have that many because you just see him running around everywhere. It's great. Oh man.
All right, a couple more paragraphs.
Yes, sir. Go right ahead.
Back with Racetrack and Skulls, multiple Dratus contacts appear. An overwhelming force of 5 base ships appear, and the two manage to jump away by the skin of their teeth as a missile comes hurtling toward them. In Galactica's CIC, Adama orders a search for any possible tracking device, as Laura tries to convince them to ask the captured Six for help. She snaps back when Ty objects and storms off. Adama gives the order, and Lee suspiciously inspects her cup and thermos, detecting an unexpected odor. In the
Yeah.
brig, God,
No, I was just gonna say when the scene when you see the Cylon fleet jump in on top of them, just like just that oh shit, because there was that they're like we got to jump the frack out of here now.
yeah,
It's like
Yes.
there was that missile flying at them, and they just jump away at the last second. It was like, yep. Oh God, it was just crazy because just the reaction was priceless. But yeah, very very interesting on inspecting the cup, and I noticed that Lee did that after he watched Rosalind walk over, because I'm pretty sure at this point he was kind of positive that his dad and Rosalind were pretty much becoming rapidly an item.
Mm-hmm. And
yeah,
he's in. You can see him when he does that. You can see him going into full lawyer mode. He's not just thinking, as a pilot or a CAG or military. He is like, what's going on here?
Mm-hmm.
yeah. His time with Lampkin clearly rubs off on him because
Oh,
he's
definitely.
thinking about this entirely from a political perspective.
Yeah. Again, sorry to derail you, Zach.
It's fine. Ty begins questioning the Six, and she suggests to him that the Cylons may have found a way to track the unique radiation signature being emitted by the refinery ship Hitei Khan. However, the Baltar in her mind convinces her not to cooperate any further, and she instead fires back by bringing up the memory of his wife. Ty loses his cool and strikes Six. The Marines intervene after she strikes him back. Did you want to read that?
Oh man, just a priceless comment by Tony. This is so far our chat comment of the stream today on Dirty Jobs with Mike Rowe, food taster on the Battlestar Galactica.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, especially after the food processors break.
Oh, yes.
All right. Continue, my friend.
We cut to the courtroom, where Ty is being questioned by the prosecution. Noticeably drunk, Ty slurs his words when trying to testify that his wife did more to help the resistance than Baltar did. After the defense momentarily strategizes on this, Lampkin brings us back to the bombing of the police graduation, calling into question Ty's value of human life. Romo then shifts to Ellen, and after Adama's efforts to deflect are overruled, a parallel is drawn between Ellen's cooperation with the Cylons and Baltar's, muddying the difference. Ty's drinking is pointed out, and as the questioning continues, Ty becomes distracted by faint music that only he can hear. Lampkin gets Saul to admit to killing Ellen, revealing her involvement and coming unglued on the stand. He testifies that he still blames Gaius and would do and say anything to see him pay. As the defense rests, the music in Ty's head increases in intensity.
Yeah.
Can I say something about Ty here?
Yeah, go ahead.
I love him in this episode. As frustrating as this character is, and I have a love-hate relationship with him, but he is one of my favorites. He is rattled. He is broken. But he is the most honest person with his motives at this trial. He truly believes Baltar is responsible for all of this because in his mind, Baltar's a total, he's a complete traitor. And yeah, he feels Ellen would not have done what she did had Baltar not been in the position he was. And he acknowledges he killed Ellen, but he's like, yeah, but if it hadn't been for him, I wouldn't have had to do this. And with his drinking and with hearing the music, he's a battered man, but he's honest about it.
Mm-hmm.
There's no politics in him right now. Everyone else has their own. Yeah, they want to hold Baltar accountable, but I think there's also a part of them that knows he was kind of in a rock and a hard place. The Cylons were going to do what they did, regardless if he, cooperated or not. But Ty, he lays it on the line, and my heart, and the way he performs it, God, my heart breaks for this character, because you can just see what all this has done for him.
Yeah, he's come
really
completely unhinged, and going back on the
Yes.
bottle, even if he weren't drunk, he would still be weighed down by the weight of everything that's happened, giving
Yeah.
into the emotion of the moment. He would not be able to hold himself together under scrutiny, I don't think, even if he were sober. It certainly didn't help, but
I agree. And he's amazing in this.
And there's
he is a
also
tragic character.
there's also a weird dichotomy in that even if he's right, even if he were right about everything that happened on New Caprica, the fact that Lampkin can turn it around and say he might be guilty, but every one of you is also guilty of something. So how are you better than him?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And I think that's just the final. I think he's just at that point. He's like, I've got nothing left.
Yeah, he really is. He's really at the broken point. And that's and that's very clear. And then he's questioning himself psychologically at this point, because he keeps hearing this music. He doesn't know if anybody else is hearing it, whatever. He doesn't know if he's hallucinating. So there's that. And a lot going on with Ty, for sure right now. So any thoughts before we move on, Zach?
Nope.
All right.
Back in Joe's bar, the radio has finally been tuned to the newscast. Tori strolls up to the bar indecisively, observing Anders giving Celix a pyramid lesson. He and Tori lock eyes for a moment as a faint tune plays over the radio. We then join the testimony of Laura Roslin, as she recounts the night 200 resistance members were captured for execution, from a list signed by Baltar. The defense strategizes in private. Romo notices that Lee is hiding something, and he carefully pries it out of him, playing his sense of justice against his personal grudge against his father. Adama drags a fully inebriated Ty back to his quarters. We are told that the necessary fix is being made to the Tilium ship to hide the radiation signature Six spoke of earlier. Estimates are that the fleet is 9 jumps away from the nebula, or about 3 days from the next clue to finding Earth. Ty confesses to his old friend that he is no longer noticing Ellen's scent on the clothes of hers that he'd kept, before apologizing for his actions earlier. Adama tells him there's no need for it. In the Admiral's quarters, Lee attempts to convince him to send the Tilium ship off on a distraction course, rather than fix the radiation signature. His father, also drinking, coldly takes the advice. Lee then inquires about Roslin, but Bill sees through his ploy, causing the two to spar about Lee's role in Ty's cross-examination. Lee vows not to serve under a man who questions his integrity, laying down his junior officer bin and tendering his resignation.
Yeah, that was pretty powerful. And you could see it. They just had it out, kind of, because Adama, hail Koji Pan, great to see you, man. Adama said, how could you let them do that to Ty? Blah blah blah. You basically handed a stranger the ship and let him stab him in the back. And he read him the riot act over it, and Lee, gave it right back because he was sick of his dad going in with a bias and not a clear head. A, because of his attachment to Laura, and B, because of his attachment to Ty. And it's like you can see that, and both men are at that point. Especially it drives it home more because the placement of that scene where you see the old man, just one best friend helping another best friend. He's done. You can tell that he's done this many times before when they've been out drinking together, their younger days, whatever, and helped him through personal crises while he's three sheets to the wind. And I've been there, done that with friends before too, back in the day. I mean, but this is a bond. You can see, and you have that best friends moment, and then transition to boom, father versus son. And
Yeah.
all the battle lines there, and that is it's powerful, just the way that they transitioned the scenes.
This is nowhere near the first time these two have sparred at this level, not even in this season.
No.
Just a few episodes ago we had moments like this where they were almost coming to blows with the emotion they were letting loose. But it just keeps escalating every time something else happens. And this is about the point of the episode where the overarching theme of betrayal really popped out. Like, this is what this episode is about.
Yep.
Yeah, because it feels their fight here it has a finality to it that the other ones don't seem to have. I mean, they are just both done at this point.
Yeah, it really is, and that's a good point, Arwen. Yeah, I had that sense too. Even though in the grand scheme, that they're not, it's still like at this point in time, it sure as heck feels that way.
Yeah, it goes beyond daddy issues at this point.
Yeah, exactly.
Like Zach said, it's a betrayal. They both see each other as, well, I mean, just the conversation that they have, they both see it as a betrayal of what they've come through and what they've done. And they are really parting ways. They're going down two completely different paths.
And that's part of why I liked the few episodes that established this similarity between Lee and Joseph Adama, his grandfather, and the fact that, Lee is just like Joseph, and Joseph and Bill didn't get along. Ergo, Lee and Bill don't get along either.
Do you buy this? Do you agree with Tony's assessment here, Zach?
Given everything else that goes on in this, like the last two seasons get grander in scope based on just the fact that it's close to the series, I would say that that's probably an apt statement.
Okay.
Especially given the number of grand events that have gone on. To recap all the things these characters have gone through, just to give a refresher, is probably a good thing.
Okay. All right, my friend. Go ahead and pick it up.
Okay. Back in the courtroom, Lee, now in civilian dress, takes Lampkin's place in questioning the president. He leads with pressing her about Gaius's role in the treatment that ultimately cured her cancer, much to the visible chagrin of Hilo. As he continues to pry into her medical history, he specifically asks about her use of the Kamala extract, the substance that gives her the visions she's been having. Laura denies nothing and pushes back on Lee's own involvement with her decision-making. She begs him not to do what he is about to do, but Lee asks if she is still taking the extract, based on his earlier observation. She attempts to appeal to their previous close relationship, but he continues to press. The Admiral attempts to overrule the entire proceeding, threatening both Lee and Lampkin with contempt of court. But the other tribunal members interject, and Rosalind admits what we all now know. Before the defense rests, however, Laura urges Lee to ask why she's resumed the treatment, leaving the court in shock by revealing what we didn't know. Her cancer has returned.
Yeah, man, it was bombshell after bombshell here. It was just like Lee went Lee went with a flurry combo, and she answered back with a bomb. And
Yes,
it's
she
like,
did.
Mhm.
Yes, she did.
And
and
this,
yeah, it was crazy, and for a lot of people, for the average viewer, this was a jaw drop moment. You're like, holy crap, she's
Mhm.
got cancer all over again. As if we kind of suspected, but this was, wow, just bomb dropping confirmation.
and it kind of talks to what I mentioned earlier, where Lee's like a dog with a bone with this
Hmm.
particular piece of information that he's trying to get out of her. But she turns right back around. It's like, okay, yes, I'm guilty of what you're accusing me of, but you had a part to play in this too.
Hmm.
Hmm.
He had no problem backing her up on multiple occasions against his father.
Yeah, exactly. So it was very 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 poignant and very on the betrayal side for sure.
What this trial kind of spoke to me about is not just Baltar's innocence or guilt, but it really explores the others, and that they don't just hate him for what happened on New Caprica, but they hate him for everything that's happening around them.
Mhm.
You've got Adama dealing with, his beloved friend with Ty's fractured spirit. You've got, Rosalind's returning cancer and her, perceived instability with the Kamala extract. You've got Lee's desire to get into law over the military. You've got Adama and Lee's breakdown in relationship and Lee's ultimate resignation. I mean, all of this is compounding their hate for Baltar. And they can't take it directly out on the Cylons. So here's Baltar. All of
Mhm.
this is his fault.
Hmm.
He is the
Yes,
easy target.
yeah, he's the conduit for what's happening to everyone, and
Yes.
it's
Yes.
Hmm.
almost as if this is not the trial of Gaius Baltar, even though that's what we're leading up to, but it is the trial of everyone through Gaius Baltar.
Yep,
Exactly. Exactly.
exactly, man. That is the point of the evening, sir. Yes, that is exactly what this is, and you're seeing it play out that way.
They're dumping all their prejudices on him,
Yep.
all of them. And it's like, you are responsible for every single thing bad that's happening, not just on New Caprica, but for right now.
Yeah.
Which again points to Tony's point earlier that we are trying not to talk about, and that a single individual being focused with all of the troubles may or may not solve all the troubles once you get rid of them.
Hmm.
Yep.
Exactly.
Yep.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
All right. So go ahead.
After the explosive events in the courtroom, Duwala is seen packing her bags, leaving in disgust, as Lee tries to justify his actions to her. She completely rejects his explanation, stating that she believes the entire system to be broken. There's no reconciling between the two. Meanwhile, Rosalind gives a press conference and is peppered with very personal questions about her cancer and the hybrid child. Tori steps in with an angry outburst toward the reporters before she is dismissed by Laura. Karen Fallbrook then asks how long Laura has to live, and as Laura fires back with the same question in return, the reporter is left speechless. Later, Rosalind then chastises Tori for her outburst and her general inability to perform her duties. Tori explains she hasn't been sleeping, a complaint which falls largely on deaf ears, as Rosalind threatens to replace her with someone who can, quote, run a comb through her hair once a week, as
No
well as handle
way.
the press.
Yeah, Rosalind like really just whew, she fired on her, man, big time.
She's like, cry me a river. Yeah.
Yeah, man, she was salty.
Yeah, she has no chill with anyone in this episode. She snaps at everybody.
It's true. She's done.
Mhm.
And poor Tori. Man, she is looking rough.
Yeah, she is. She most definitely.
And you see
And,
the
and
toll that things have taken on her too.
but Rosalind's just like, mega care in this episode. She's just like, I have no time for you. You're terrible.
Oh my God. Although I did think I get why they asked her the question, how long do you have to live? But I would have responded the same way. I would have been like, look, can you answer that for yourself? No, so leave me alone.
No, like I don't have an estimate from a doctor, and you know what? If we don't do our jobs, all of us have exactly the same amount of time to live if the Cylons catch up to us.
Right, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's a number of ways you could have written that scene, but the way that she handled it was pretty matter of fact.
Yeah, absolutely. So, all right, continue, my friend.
This will be the close, so I have like one more paragraph's worth.
Okay.
We cut to Ty's quarters, where he lies in a drunken stupor on the floor, still hearing the mysterious music. We then cut to the CIC, where Hilo reports in as interim XO, and Gata details the plan for the Tillium ship's decoy route, as earlier suggested by Lee. We learn that there has been no further reports of the Cylons, and that the fleet is about 3 jumps away from the nebula. Hilo then proceeds to reminisce about the smell that would precede weather changes on Caprica, warning that he feels a metaphorical storm is coming to the fleet. In the closing scene of the episode, we see Ty pressing his ear to Galactica's internal structure, cursing the music he can hear in the ship itself.
It's in the fracking ship.
Yes.
Yep. Gotta love that scene. Man, that was crazy. I love that. That's one of the great clips of this show. But the but yeah, I found it interesting what what Hilo told Gata. He said, "Yep, storm's coming, Felix."
Mm-hmm.
Boy, that was a spot on statement because you sure can feel that right now.
And that harkens back to what Tom Zarek said in a previous episode, where he's warning Rosalind against the metaphorical hurricane of political blowback that could happen if the trial itself isn't handled right. So it's a nice tie into that earlier line.
And
Yeah.
I think if that had come from anybody other than Hilo, you might have thought, okay, well, there might have been more prejudice involved. But I don't know why. It may just be me, but the fact that came from him, it seemed to give that more gravity. That weather's changing, Felix. Need to be ready for it. There's a storm coming.
Mm-hmm.
It's not coming from Adama. It's not coming from Ty. It's not coming from Rosalind. It's coming from Hilo.
He gets that split second cutaway in the courtroom scene when they mention the fact that they used Hera's blood to cure Rosalind's cancer, and you go to his face and he's just like why the hell are you bringing this up? Like, everyone already looks at me like I'm shit because of my relationship with the Cylon. Like, stop making this public information.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
He's like, now that secret's out, things are gonna change.
Yeah.
Well, chat it up, guys. I will be right back. I need to step away for 1 second.
Another thing I noticed, and Arwen, tell me if you noticed this too, is that this starts to set up and I want to avoid spoiler here, but the special connection that Ty, Anders, and Tori have,
yes,
is hinted at very slyly in a couple of shared things between the locked gaze between Tori and Anders, the fact that Tori and Ty are both falling apart at the seams, and that Ty and Anders both kind of hear the tune.
Yes, and when he's going through the radio, and he can hear it and Anders is like, wait, what is that? Ooh, go back. And everyone else he's like, y'all hear that? Nope.
Yep.
Right there, that's the first one. And then Tori hears it. And then by the time Ty's like, it's in the fracking ship, it's not like, okay, well, yeah, they're falling apart individually, but there's something connecting them. What is it? What's it
All
going
right.
to
I think
be?
the only
It
one
kind
that's
of
not
hints to that bigger picture.
I think the only one that at least doesn't appear to be physically falling apart is Anders. Not that I had noticed. I could have missed it, but there's
Yeah,
definitely
no, you're right. You're right. And I don't know if it's because he's, he was dealing with Kara's death and he's kind of in that transition phase. So he's trying to get his life back and he's just not focusing in on stuff like Ty and Tori or Tori are, or I don't know. But yeah, I did notice that he's not quite as affected as the other two. The other two are just no, they're not
it.
good.
It could be that the three of them are actually. This is a good observation I just came up with. The three of them are in different phases of grief almost because Ty, and we can judge this by a parallel to the amount of alcohol that they consume in the episode. Ty is
Mhm.
completely off the rails. He's lost everything. He's in the bag the whole time. Tori is just starting to fall apart. She walks up to the bar and she doesn't even know what she wants to drink, but she knows she wants to drink. And Anders doesn't have a drink the entire episode.
Yeah, yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point. They're all at different stages, but yet they're all hearing the same thing.
Mhm. I literally just thought of that now. That's how almost like feels like it should have hit me in the face. But
That is a very good point.
yeah, see, we figure something new out every time.
Well, the first time I watched this through, I didn't even make the connection that it was something specific with them, with Ty, Tori, and Sam.
Yeah,
And I don't know why, because now that I watch it, it seems so obvious. But at the time, I just thought, oh well, maybe the others weren't paying attention, or maybe Ty is just kind of going off the deep end because of his, he's mourning Ellen and he's broken and all of this crap with Baltar, and Tori's just she's having a phase. I mean, it didn't connect. But then the second time I watched it through, and then the third, and then the fourth, of course, having seen it, it's it's coming, but still, yeah, definitely. There's a bigger picture here. There is something going on that's beyond them.
yeah.
And
It's
it'll get into the spirituality of it all and their connection in future episodes, but which this is a very spiritual show, if you think about it.
very much so, especially when
And
we were talking earlier about the the shared outer world, we'll say, between the
yeah.
Cylons and the humans. But
And
it's
have you
actually
noticed, like the opera? We were talking about the opera house earlier. Have you noticed how it does not in any way emulate their reality? The colors are all saturated. Everything
Mhm.
is bright. Everything is light. Even though the theme is not, it's completely different from what they are dealing with on a day-to-day basis.
Oh yeah, absolutely. The reality of the show, the reality, quote unquote, is dark and dirty and grungy and bloody, and this other world is completely bathed in clean light. Everyone that goes in there is clean, and then they're looking their best. And
Yeah.
yeah, you're absolutely correct. But as to
Just
go ahead.
I was going to say, just big thank you from all of us to Tony, aka Rookery in the Base. Thank you so much, Tony, for continued support of the show. And he's always guest. He's guest starred on this show too, on the panel before. So thank you, Tony. Absolutely. If you reach out, actually, maybe we'll have you on next week for the big part 2 in the big reveals to get your takes on that as well. So just reach out to me and we can make that happen.
Awesome.
So just to close out that point that you and I were just talking about, Arwen, I think it speaks to the storytelling that the same connection between those three characters can be explained both internally to the episode, not knowing what happens after and just what's going on to them, and in a retrospective point, when you realize that their connection is even deeper, it can be explained both ways.
Very true. Very true.
So Drew, I don't know if you heard what we were talking about, but we were talking about the subtle connections between Tori, Anders, and Ty this episode.
Yeah, because you can see them in there, especially this episode seems to focus on their perspectives individually quite a bit, and and you can see the parallels running between the three of them. Especially if you catch the moment in the bar where Saul's playing with the radio, and he's trying to find that frequency, and Anders is just way across the room, and he's like, "Oh, you just had it,"
Yeah.
And Felix is like, "What?" He's like, "Oh, that song, and you start to see that, and and we're gonna find out more because there's a big connection coming up between Tori and Anders.
Yeah, we tried not to spoil that, but also to talk to it. So I think we tiptoed around that pretty successfully.
Yeah, there'll be a quite literal connection coming up soon. How does that work? Is that like plugging in a USB?
That's great.
You have to wonder. Yeah, so next week, folks, you're not going to want to miss it because we are going to have part 2 of the finale. Like I said, we had teased and flirted around with the idea of possibly just going through and doing both parts tonight, but yeah, it would have been crazy late. So we want to give it its proper due, but just overall, this first part was amazing. The lead in and everything else, just oh man, spot on.
Definitely.
Hail to Scott, just a normie.
Hello.
Good to see you, buddy. So I would say my final summary and thoughts on the episode. As I said, it was done well. I thought that the really the sort of stunning, flat out betrayals of this that occurred in this. And the way that you so eloquently put it, Zach, with the theme of betrayal, I thought that yeah, overall, it was a very emotionally charged episode, more so than action packed, but it had a lot of definitely emotional character action. Not as opposed to just flat out, pew pew. There wasn't that there, but there was definitely some, between people, and that was quite interesting. So I am waiting with bated breath actually for next week. Now I'm looking forward to it because, like I said, I watched the first part. I couldn't stop, so I watched the second part too. But that is the way this show is. It's just it's just like you can't stop watching. Once you start watching it, it's like, oh my god, I gotta see another episode.
So what's your score for it then? I'm curious.
My score for this one, the lead in, was about I would put it at an 8.5 personally, because I would obviously it does a good job pace setting. It does a good job setting things up, and there is some intrigue in here, but again, I think where it really shines is going to be in the back half. So so this was 8.5 because I rated the back half uh, a 9, and next week we'll find out why. But it's just
Mhm.
the back half to me is a little bit stronger than the first half, but still an 8.5 and very outstanding in its own right. So that's uh, that's my take on it. So,
Arwen,
so
would you like to go next?
Oh, I'm sorry. Y'all were lagging a little bit. Me? Y'all want me to me?
mhm.
Um,
Sure.
okay. I would say a 9 because I love how this episode exposes everybody's kind of their motives and their prejudices. And again, just the acting, Ty, ugh, he breaks my heart. He actually breaks my heart, especially when he's talking about, Ellen, and he can't smell her scent anymore. I mean, this man is grieving and he is broken and he acts it to a T. So
Mhm.
I would say a 9 for this one. I won't give it a 10 because I'm waiting to give the 10 for another one. But yeah, I love this episode. I just love this episode. So 9 for me.
Okay. Well, I'm going to knock it out of the park then. I'm going to throw a caveat on this. I'm going to give this episode a 10 in itself, and I'm going to reserve the right to change my answer based on next week's episode.
Okay, okay, fair enough.
Because
Very
even
diplomatically done.
if you just look at the 45 minutes that we are given, so much happens, and every single scene is a barn burner.
Hmm.
And we were
Yes.
just the number of little things that get set up that as we were just picture the conversations that we just had, the tie between three secondary characters that can be explained two different ways, that is a super major plot point. This trial that is the crux of the season finale being interpreted two or three different ways. The moment of space combat action that we do get, is probably the weaker part, and that's saying something in a a space, a military sci-fi opera. Like, this episode actually is extremely strong standing on its own. But again, I
Hmm.
reserve the right to change my answer after next week's episode.
Yeah, exactly, and that's why for me this is a 8.5. It's going to be a different story next week. So I'm looking forward to that one. It's going to be great because I could keep going. And man, there is a part of me that just wants to keep going. But yeah, we will definitely save it for next week. So we will go around the panel and we will allow everybody to kind of let you folks know where you can find their great content. And we will start because here we always put the ladies first. So we will allow Arwen to expound on the virtues of her channel.
Well, yes, I do have I do have a channel. I've been getting I've been getting a lot more requests for people lately to put something on it, please. And I'm like I said, I am working on that, but I'm really enjoying guesting right now. I'm having a good time. I'm getting to know people. I was on Loki's the day before yesterday. Was it yesterday? Day before yesterday? I can't remember. The days are kind of blended. This has been a really busy week. Um, I've been invited to a couple other places, but I don't want to say just yet what they are because we haven't hammered out any details. But y'all may see me around in the next couple of weeks. And again, I'm always on Twitter. I'm pretty active on there. So, come by and say hello, and I will be sure to say hello back. So, right now, things are looking good. Things are looking busy, and I'm really enjoying it. So that's what's going on for me.
Yeah, and folks, be sure that you get used to seeing this lovely woman around because she's going to be a permanent fixture here as we said, she's going to be here. We're going to be myself, Arwen, Zach. We're all going to be bringing you the glory of season 4 when we get
Yes.
into that. I know after we do next week's Pegasus, we'll probably take a break for a little bit because I know that Zach's getting ready for the Vegas meetup. Hopefully, God willing, I'm going to be getting ready to go to the Vegas meetup. And then after that's all hammered out, when we get back in the swing of things and we will start into the season 4. And I'm guessing that we'll probably start into that. Um, I imagine we'll just take like a 2 week break, and then we'll come back in after that. So probably the last second to last week of August, I would say we'll start in on season 4. So you have that to look forward to, but definitely next week it will be a barn burner because the second half of this episode is absolutely amazing. So aren't going to want to miss that at all. So with that said, I will go ahead and yield to Zach and let him tell you folks where to find him. So take it away, sir.
Thank you, Drew. You all know me. I'm Zach from Brightest Day. I am here on Thursdays doing the Pegasus Actual podcast for you guys. If you want more Battlestar content, I do a live read of the Battlestar Galactica novelization on Monday nights. I'm about halfway through the book. I have the second novel that came out after that, which I will probably pick up once I'm done. And I am working on making some kind of content based around actual military stories set in the Battlestar Galactica universe. Not sure what form that's going to take yet, but I am working on it. Throughout the rest of the week, I do Gundam content and community-based kind of comedic skits and a bunch of other things. And love being with you guys in the chat. And again, I say this every week, but thank you, Drew, for having me on.
Well,
Absolutely.
dude, this show is just not the same without you. And I mean, you guys are a perfect fit, and I'm thankful to you. And again, folks, we are thankful to you in the chat because without you, there really is no us, and you are family just as much as we consider ourselves on the panel of family, and just absolutely love you all to pieces. And I appreciate the continued support and standing behind me. And of course, I know Mama Heretic loves you guys and is so thankful for the prayers, the love, and everything that you send her as well. So thank you so much for that. But we will see you guys next week. And make sure that you take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and I promise you, we will get through all of this. So say we all.
So say we all.
Say